So BrainTap, sessions in the morning, sessions at night for 2 weeks, all of a sudden began to lift his self-esteem that when he sent that resume out, he was actually believing that he was worth more than that.
This will only work if you have a program that goes with it, a mental program. And most people forget about that mental program. So you brought me a group that does a weight loss product that I used. I actually lost 40 pounds with it. And I know a lot of people have. And so what do you think it does for somebody who's like facing challenges?
Welcome to the Brain Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Patrick Porter. Please join us on our mission to better a billion brains. Enjoy the episode and remember to share it with your family and friends.
Hey, welcome back to the Brain Fitness Podcast. I'm Dr. Patrick Porter, your host, and today I have a very special guest, somebody that I've been working with actually since I sold my old company and I started doing seminars. He's one of the guys that actually let me in his seminar, if you can believe that, because so many people were thinking, hey, BrainTap's just a toy. But Dr. Fab Mancini, who's going to be our guest here today, he saw the future and he said, hey, we need to work on neurology as a chiropractor and really upgrade the profession. So Dr. Fab, as you're called, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Patrick. It's so great to see you. And thanks for having me again. I'm a big fan, as you know, and what a treat to be in your podcast.
Right. And you're an overachiever. I mean, you were the youngest president of a university. You took Parker College. And I mean, when we'd go to those conferences, thousands of people there, it was just a tremendous experience. And I mean, you were kind of handpicked by Jim Parker to be a successor. So tell me a little bit about your history. What got you into, you have a mindset that I think, you know, if we could bottle it, we'd probably make a fortune with that. So tell us a little bit about how you developed that and what brought you to this point.
Well, initially I had a dream when I was 16 years old that I wanted to be a doctor. And of course, like most people, I thought it was going to be a medical doctor. And then during pre-med, I did a residency program or a rotation in pediatrics and then neurology. So I thought, okay, I'm going to be a neurosurgeon. I was fascinated with the nervous system. It's the master system of the body. It controls every cell in the body. So I said, I want to work with that system. But I thought as a surgeon, I was going to be the most effective, the most valuable in that space. And then I was involved in a car accident right before I graduated from undergraduate school, before I went to medical school. It brought me to a Doctor of Chiropractic. And I was introduced to the world of prevention, to the world of naturalism, the world of holism. And after seeing my own results within 6 weeks, I spent 6 months interviewing 62 chiropractors. And I fell in love with the premise, the philosophy, the way that we serve the body. And I recognized that the key thing in solving our health problems was prevention and getting to the root cause of the problem, not just managing conditions, managing pain, managing symptoms, which is the way that our healthcare system is. So I practiced for 10 years. And then Dr. Parker passed away. He was my mentor. And the board asked me if I would come in and run Parker University. And it was 1 degree of chiropractic. And now we're over 36 degrees in healthcare. The school grew very rapidly. And I was there for 13 and a half years. And then I started doing media. I started becoming the health expert for Dr. Phil, the doctors, Fox News, all the Spanish channels, because I'm bilingual. So that's led me into the journey. And when I took over Parker, I think you and I reconnected again. And I kept telling you, I said, you know, Patrick, this is one of the greatest services that not only you can bring to the chiropractor and their patients, but to humanity as a whole. And I'm just so proud of how much the company has grown. But I saw the value because you and I have a very similar upbringing, where we understand that the mind and the subconscious mind, or what you call the other than conscious mind, is 95% of our reality. And that's what controls our lives. And I believe BrainTap is probably the best technology that I have seen to help me make sure that my subconscious mind doesn't run away with what I don't want out of life, but I get control back of the life that I want to create.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I know that a lot of people think healthcare is going to the doctor, getting their checkup once a year, and then when the wheels fall off, they get it all fixed up. But you and I both know it's prevention. There's a difference between sickness care and healthcare, and you've been really pushing the wellness care, just basically setting it up. And we know the brain, the sooner we can get started with the brain, the better. Don't wait to have a breakdown to have that breakthrough. So tell us a little bit about your BrainTap journey, because I know that, you've been using even some of my older devices over the years. And then when we got the BrainTap in 2012, we started reconnecting and working together and getting it out to the world. But tell us a little bit about how you're finding BrainTap and its use.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned, because I was surprised that I was honored as one of the very few wellness Hall of Fame revolutionaries. I have been in this space for over 37 years, and I wanted to push wellness. And of course, now it's functional medicine, integrative medicine, and what I call natural medicine. But for me, the BrainTap, and the reason that I was so fascinated with the nervous system is that as you see the body and the embryo growing, when we study anatomy and physiology, we realize that the brain, the nervous system, is the first system of the body. That is the foundation for then the cardiovascular system, the musculoskeletal system, the digestive system, the immune system, circulatory system. All of those systems come after the fact. So just from the sake of supporting your nervous system, that's why I felt chiropractic was the best profession for an individual to enter, because we're supporting and resetting and strengthening that nervous system so they can live, hopefully, a healthy lifestyle. But where I saw the BrainTap complement not only to what I did as a chiropractor by adjusting our patients, is that BrainTap actually helped the individuals access that subconscious mind that I don't have the opportunity to touch. All I can do is adjust the patient, release some of the nerve interference, and allow the body to heal itself. But with BrainTap, I can be actually intentional. And that's what I love about it. You have all of this amazing technology in a simple unit that anyone can use, from young kids to people that are in their 90s and 100. And that component of it is what I saw of what an amazing gift. And when I first saw you in one of the seminars, I bought one for every member of my family, because it's the greatest gift to this day that they tell me they received from me, because I'm empowering them to be able to gain control back of their mindset. Most people feel that they're out of control, that circumstances dictate their future. You and I have been trained and conditioned to understand that we've always had the control. We have just chosen to give that option to somebody else, and BrainTap gives the control back to me. And that's why I get so excited about it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I know that just recently we were at a seminar together in Dallas, and you told a story about your son, because a lot of people think, hey, BrainTap's just for sickness or illness or something like that, but we can use it to achieve things like peak performance states. We can use it to use our mindset to look up for opportunities. So maybe share that story, because I think that was pretty powerful, what happened with your son.
Well, today the word mindset has become a little bit popular. And to me, we know BrainTap is extremely well for athletes, because, they maximize their potential to be able to perform that activity. We know that it's very good for academia, those kids that are wrestling, with the ability to focus and be able to absorb the material. But my personal story was that my son, Gianni, which had gone to Texas Christian University, played tennis since he was 8 years old and throughout his college career, and then became a music producer, came back to Dallas because of the pandemic, and he kind of was forced to take a job in a marketing agency because of the pandemic. And he was loving what he was doing, but the problem was that unfortunately he had a boss, a CEO, that believed that he wasn't owed a promotion. And this kid was the hardest worker guy you'll see, maybe from his athlete days. He's so disciplined. So he was working long hours, long days, weekends. And the guy kept saying, no, it's going to be at least 5 years before you get a raise. So after 2 years of that, he comes to me to one of our events, and he heard you speak. And he's like, Dad, do you think that this will help me? So he utilized BrainTap in order to get his self-worth up. So he had the ability to take a risk and say, you know what, I'm going to put my resume out there and see if somebody else can value me more than this one. Because I told him, I said, the day that you allow somebody else to dictate your self-worth and your value, you're going to be disappointed. So BrainTap, sessions in the morning, sessions at night for 2 weeks, all of a sudden began to lift his self-esteem, that when he sent that resume out, he was actually believing that he was worth more than that. And then he got interview after interview, and he ended up, after 2 weeks of using it, in a role that now he still has after a couple of years of running a much bigger environment, working from home, which is what he wanted, and making 3 times the amount of money that he made in the other place for 2 years without the expectation of a raise. Now, to me, what I tried to convey to him is the fact that somehow in the subconscious mind, there might have been a limiting belief that said, I'm not worthy more than that, or I have to do what my boss says I'm worth, or this is a tough time after the pandemic, so there's not a lot of jobs. I should be happy with what I have. And to me, BrainTap eliminates and creates new neural pathways, because now, because of neuroplasticity, we know that the brain is constantly adapting to new changes and new environments. So if I feed the environment that I want to create, and because of all the technology that you and your researchers have put together, now I have a much better ability to be able to make that a reality in my life. And I saw it firsthand within 2 weeks. I use BrainTap morning and evening. I know every time I see you, you say use it 3 times and you'll see even more miracles. And you know what an incredible life I've created. And I owe a lot of that to you.
Well, thank you. Well, I know that you're mentoring. I go to your mentorships. We're actually going to be doing one here in Dallas, which will be exciting. And then, but you've also brought other people to BrainTap, like a weight loss program, where people think that, you know, you watch on television, they'll say this pill works or that pill works, but at the very last, it says, this will only work if you have a program that goes with it, a mental program. And most people forget about that mental program. So you brought me a group that does a weight loss product that I used. I actually lost 40 pounds with it. And I know a lot of people have. And so what do you think it does for somebody who's like facing challenges? Like when you try to change a behavior, you know, it's tougher than people think because of what's called neural pruning. If you're not able to neural prune, you're not able to get those old habits out, they seem to run because that's the subconscious. You know, when you get stressed out, you start running those old patterns. We see that with our family or friends, you know. So tell us a little bit about, you know, you continuously bring people to BrainTap, which I appreciate. So tell us a little bit about that.
For me, what I've come to the conclusion after many years, 38 years of this, is to recognize that you must have the proper mindset that will allow a new behavior to come in to be sustainable. So in the case of the weight loss, many people wake up every day looking at the mirror saying, I wish I was 10 pounds lighter, maybe 20 pounds lighter, whatever the case may be. And it's more of a wish, right? The deep belief is that their belief system, their mindset has kept them at that weight. And then the behaviors that are attached to that mindset are the ones that they're currently doing. So there's a lot of people out there that read a diet book, or they may go to a session or maybe attend a master class, and they say, oh, if you change these behaviors, you can actually lose weight. The problem is that the sustainability of that behavioral change, the chances are very little, because the belief system, the mindset has still not changed. So even though you change it, and even though you may see 4 pounds, 5 pounds, 10 pounds lighter, immediately, whenever you have a set off, like you get angry or you get upset or you get into a fight or you get depressed or you have something happen bad in your life, immediately you default back to that belief system. So to me, when that group came to you, I felt that what they were missing, and now you're seeing the results are so much more sustainable, even though they were very successful before, is because now when I'm going through that weight loss program, I am actually at the same time developing a mindset that would allow me to sustain that behavior, because now my mindset says, I am thin, I am healthier, I am, you know, more energetic, I am feeling good about myself, I am, you know, whatever it is that you want to create for yourself. And that's where I think the combination, and it's not just about weight loss, it's about pain management. I have a lot of my patients that I put on BrainTap to lower their pain, because psychologically, we know that if these people have been in pain for a long time, they have an expectation that they're going to wake up with pain the next day. So BrainTap gives them the opportunity to reset that expectation and hopefully wake up the next day saying, you know what, I'm not going to have pain today, or I'm going to have less pain today. And little by little, they get to the point that now they can live a pain-free life because they have the belief system, the mindset that supports the new behavior that they're trying to change. And that's what, to me, I believe the beauty of what you created is that you can adapt it to any new behavior, any new change that you want in your life, but it begins with that mindset. And that's where you have over 2,500 sessions, and you keep adding. Every time I look at my app, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's got a new, I got to try this, you know?
Yeah, we're adding, it seems like 40 to 50 every month. We're just coming out with our TBRX programs that are going to be awesome for people with sports and things of that nature. But we're also looking forward to yours. I know we have a couple that are being done right now for Spanish because we want to open up the Spanish world. And you introduced us to Dr. Lisa, who's exceptional. She's one of the most prolific people too. She's kind of like me. I love it. She's sending me things all the time and delivering new content. Now, I don't want to put you on the spot because I know your books are kind of like your children, but you've written so many books and you're helping people. You're on those TV shows, helping people in that way. But when you think of your books, one of the things we tell people is nutrition is number one for brain fitness. You can't outthink a bad diet. So tell me about your books and how somebody which book would you recommend they read, and how is that going to help them with their fitness in general, but mostly their brain fitness?
Well, to me, I've written 4 best-selling books. The last one, called The Power of Self-Healing, of course, was the most successful of all of them. It became #1 in over 10 countries and is translated in 12 languages. One of the things that I love about that book is the title itself, is The Power of Self-Healing. The message that I wanted to bring to the world is that the only thing that heals is you. Everything else can facilitate it or make it worse. And to me, I wanted people to be empowered about their health rather than disempowered about the opinions that others have. So to me, what I've learned in that book is that there were 3 dimensions to healing: the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual. And in the physical, of course, nutrition is critical, and you got to put more organic food, less processed food, less sugar. We all know that. But the one thing that I found in nutrition that a lot of people talk about, but they're not implementing, is intermittent fasting. And if you just focus on eating 6 to 8 hours, within 6 to 8 hours a day, instead of throughout the whole day, you have a better chance to actually managing not only your weight, but also your health. And then, of course, we found that besides nutrition, fitness was important. Our bodies were meant to move. Having a holistic doctor as part of your team is critical, because when people get second opinions from the same specialty, they're going to get the same answer. So go to somebody else that is more holistic, more natural, like a chiropractor, acupuncture, naturopath. They'll give you a different perspective. And we found that that's where we're getting 80% of the solutions to the chronic health problems. We're not getting it through more management of symptoms through medications. We're getting them to get into the root cause of the problem. And that's what all of those providers have in common. And then on the emotional, I found that forgiveness, gratitude, and love were the 3 most healing emotions that we can have. And with BrainTap, the beautiful thing is that I can put gratitude sessions, I can put forgiveness sessions, I can put love sessions, and I can work on my emotional well-being and self-healing by simply adding the sessions. And then lastly was the spiritual component. We found that prayer and meditation was critical. But as you know, most people don't have the attention span to actually do a meditation on their own. So when they use BrainTap, it's meditation 100x. You're taking them not only from the session that you created that is very organized throughout the process, very entertaining too, but also you have all that technology of frequency, sound waves, light, LED light, all of those things that science has proven can actually help change your brain and your thought process. And then being with nature, people need to get out and be able to enjoy. And that's one of the things, when you have an app, you can take that app anywhere and be able to use your goggles, or even if you forgot your goggles, you have your headset that you can still enjoy a BrainTap session. And to me, a sense of purpose. One of the biggest challenges that I see right now is that people don't have a reason to get up in the morning. They're just going like a sailboat that doesn't have a destination. It just floats around, just A wind takes you here, a wind takes you there, and you're allowing other things and other people and circumstances dictate where you want to end up. The wonderful thing, and one of my beautiful things in the morning, I use my BrainTap sessions on focus, because I realized that the one thing that is really difficult to do, especially when you're as busy as I am, is to stay focused with what is important in your life that day. Many times I get called, I get still about 4,000 emails a day, and my phone constantly ringing, and my staff asking me to do things, and people calling me, and media calling me. So focus is very critical. So I realized that having a sense of purpose in life is extremely self-healing. And that's one of the things that I think BrainTap can really help somebody do.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. You know, they say that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? So, I mean, we have great medical system if you get injured, but it doesn't do a really good job at preventing illness. I mean, actually, a lot of people most people don't realize SSRIs were approved for 14 days of use. I don't know about you, but I know very few people that used them for 14 days. The opioids are approved for 4 weeks of use. I mean, they're not even listening to their own approvals, you know, so these things can be toxic in the body. So like Dr. Fab saying is, let's get holistic in everything we're doing. It's not just one thing, it's the whole thing. And, you know, part of it is looking outside of the box, because we've been conditioned to think that the medical community has great solutions for our illnesses, but they don't have great solutions for wellness because they don't get paid for that. You know, think about it. If you go to somebody that, you know, if you've ever had a car and had a transmission problem, you took it to a transmission shop, usually you need a new transmission. You know, that's the way it works, unfortunately. So we need to go to the doctors that are there to help you. I mean, like I said, medical groups are great for illness. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And I've been sick in other countries. I'm sure you have too. And you wish you were back here in America where they have the great medical world. But, you know, we have to take care of ourselves now. So there was a big switch, right? In 2001, 2021, they started saying, hey, I want to be in control of my own health. In fact, 300,000 medical doctors left the profession to become more holistic doctors. You know, you've kind of had your finger on the pulse of this kind of thing, being, you know, a university president and being in the field, being out there. What do you say to that? I mean, that's kind of an incredible shift, right?
Well, I can tell you, for me, it's very personal, because, you know, my mom had a stroke about 3 years ago, and I just came back from Miami, where she wanted me to meet her concierge doctor. And her concierge doctor is a medical doctor, but was so eager to meet with me because we're trying to reduce my mom's medications from the stroke. So one of the things that I love is that she was so open-minded, and she told my mom, you know, she said, Gladys, the only reason I'm still giving you these medications is because you have some symptoms. Now, what can we do to reduce those symptoms naturally? So we put a whole plan of action for my mom, from exercise to nutrition to supplements that are geared towards that. BrainTap now twice a day, and other things that we knew can help my mom reduce the symptoms. And I can tell you that within probably a month or two, she'll probably get off the only couple of other medications she still has. And that's the problem that a lot of people have today, because they only go to medical traditional doctors, which, like you said, when you need it, there's nothing like it, right? But that's only a small percentage of other illnesses that we're struggling today. The majority of the costs in healthcare today, over 80%, is what we call chronic illness. And it's the high blood pressures, the high cholesterol, the strokes, the cancers, the diabetes, the obesities, the arthritis. All of those things have been proven to actually respond very well to natural care, to holistic care. So to me, I believe that the world now that is transitioning, many of these medical doctors are finally saying, hey, we want to work together for the benefit of our patients. And I was so well treated by that doctor. She was so excited. She wanted to learn. She actually knew about vitamins and minerals better than me in some of them. She was talking to my mom about, make sure you're taking your calcium and don't forget your magnesium and all of these things. And I was so proud, because there was a time that was not the case. So the world is shifting, but there's a lot of people, unfortunately, that may be watching or hearing this, that are still stuck in that model, that have not branched out, that have not tried something different, whether it's a chiropractic adjustment or an acupuncture needle, or potentially a neuropathic a neuropathy a recipe of herbs and supplements, or maybe even BrainTap, which is so valuable. These are the things that we need to experiment within to see which ones are going to give us the best results for us. And until you try it, you'll never know.
Right. You mentioned something that a lot of people overlook is kind of medicine that we need is movement, right? Exercise, the BDNF and what it does for the brain. That's what actually helps us to build that neuroplasticity and keeps us moving. But also people sitting all the time, right? I mean, when you're sedentary, they say now that 20 minutes of sitting is equivalent to smoking a cigarette. So when you think about that, so that means that when you sit for 20 minutes, you're actually reducing the quality of your life by 7 minutes or something like that. So I mean, people getting up and moving and breathing. So it's a full package. It's a full program. I mean, think about the food you're consuming, the water you're drinking. All of these things play a part in not only brain health, but in your body's health. They say if your water goes down, if you get dehydrated 2%, your cognitive functions reduce almost 50%. So that's how important water is for the body. So when you're thinking about this holistic plan, and I know that, we have our new book coming out with Hay House, and I know they published some of your books, and Louise Hay was really strong on something called psychosomatic illnesses and what was going on. And chiropractors seem to be, even though we have this new thing called biohacking out there in the world, I think biohackers were really started by chiropractors, because you guys were doing things that other people thought were weird, from the very first chiropractor helping with hearing, of all things, and things like that. So tell me what you think the future is going to hold for this profession, because now we have people out there, literally hundreds of thousands of people testing themselves with wearables, testing them out. And I know at your events, you have a lot of activities going on where people can come. It's kind of a mini kind of David Asprey event where you have some local vendors. We're always there, and I love it. You bring in cutting edge things. You don't bring in everything, but you bring in the things you feel are what's most necessary and needed. But tell me a little bit about why you chose those and where you see the future of all this going.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I truly, and I told Dave Asprey this when I spoke at his convention, I really believe that natural medicine has been around for a long time. And to me, natural medicine, whether it's acupuncture and food and herbs and chiropractic, these are all biohacking things that have been around for a long time. The people that use them, they were biohacking their bodies to be able to be healthier. Now, the difference is that because of technology, we have actually complemented a lot of those behaviors with technologies that actually work very well together. Like for me, the chiropractic adjustments is incredible, the effectiveness that it has in the body, but complementing that with BrainTap, where now the patient can actually have a morning and an evening session. That to me is a great combination. And now if you add good nutrition, even better. And maybe if you add LED lights or hydrogen water, all those things, everything works together. So to me, what I'm seeing in the marketplace is the fact that there seems to be a tremendous interest right now of people looking for alternative or complementary or natural solutions. They're looking at and still maintaining their relationships with traditional medicine, but they're out there checking out all these technologies. So for me, my secret at my events, my event is full of CEOs and providers and influencers that are really wanting to make a great impact in the world. But the one thing that I have in that room is that that's everything I use personally. That is really the difference. I only allow people to come in if I use what it is that they are promoting or what they're sharing with the attendees. And there's nothing that speaks louder than for me to tell someone, like I was just asked recently to send recommendations to Sir Richard Branson, the Dalai Lama, on what health technologies they should have. And you should see my list. And I put BrainTap as number one because the mindset is the key. You have to have the right mindset to support the behaviors that follow. So to me, BrainTap is elementary. It's just a foundation. And then you complement that with all of these other wonderful behaviors. And now if you find yourself having a difficult time with a behavior that you really want to change, but you can't, then that's where it comes in handy because it helps support that new behavior where it programs your brain to receive it, to want it, to say, I want to stick to this, instead of, oh, well, today I don't feel like it, so I'm not going to do it. And then you stop. And that's really the benefit of it. So I see that in the future, what is happening is that we have great behaviors in natural health, but now technology has come in, like yours, that is complementing very, in a great way, the behaviors that we have developed in wellness over the years. And now that biohacking component is more the technology component that can really enhance that behavior even more. So people can actually live to be 100, 120, but in a healthy way, instead of turning 60 and most of them having at least 5 medications to take every day just to make it through the day. That's not the way we want to get older. We want to get older. You remember that Jack LaLanne was one of my closest friends, and one of the best gifts that he gave me was I threw his 94th birthday party with 5,000 people. And Jack used to tell me all the time, the reason that I've developed this mindset is because I knew that I'm the one in control of my body. And anytime I set a new goal for myself, whatever that was, he knew that it was up to him to be able to make it happen. So he would prepare himself, not only mentally, but physically, to be able to have the ideal body. And look at the millions of people that he's impacted over the years because of that tenacity since the early 50s.
Yeah, that's great. Now, seeing that you see a lot of these high achievers and they're burning the candle at both ends, they've got to do things to maximize their health. What do you see as their biggest, where you have to help them the most? Where do you see their biggest flaw that you step in and help?
What I have found over the years is the fact that many of us, both men and women, we sacrifice our health for the sake of other things. We know that women typically tend to have a full-time job, raise the kids, support their husband, and all of a sudden you find that they don't have any time for themselves, and they will tell you. So I help them realize that, you know what, even if you have to wake up an hour and a half earlier to have time for you, then you start every day with you. Because if you don't fill that tank, you're going to be empty and you're going to end up unhealthy, depressed, anxious, etc. So the biggest challenge that I see in high achievers is maintaining that balance where they put health, physically, mentally, and spiritually, as a foundational priority, meaning your health is your top priority. Now, interestingly enough, if I have a billionaire that is a client, they put their health as their number one priority because they realize that no money in the world can ever make you healthier if you've already got to the point of no return, right? So why not build our lives understanding that if you build the foundation of health as your core foundation, then you introduce the mindset of being able to achieve. Now, as you become more successful, you're always going to be healthy. And then you set that example for your children. And most of the people that come to me, they come to me because they've already worn out their health and they have all the money in the world, but they don't have a health to support it, to enjoy it. And then the worst thing is this, then they feel guilty that they're giving their children and grandchildren the example of doing the same thing. Because remember, as a generation, we have an opportunity to change generations by the behavior that we adopt in our generation. So just because my mom and dad were raised in a particular environment doesn't mean that I have to do that. But the beautiful thing, I changed the environment that my mom and dad did. Now my children have grown up with the things that I didn't have until I was 20 years old, right? When I discovered this holistic way of being and wellness. But I was 20. My children were born with that. Initially, even in the womb, they were already enjoying many of the things that we do in order to ensure that that pregnancy and that delivery is going to be amazing. And then as the moment they come out of the womb, we give them a chiropractic adjustment. Why? Because we want to set the foundation, especially during the birth trauma, which is one of the biggest traumas your body physically will undergo. So then all of a sudden now we have breast milk instead of the other type of milk, right? Because it's one of the best things you can feed your child. And then be able to then create all the environments that we didn't have preview to that allow my children to be as healthy, more healthy than I was. And now imagine, now they take that behavior and imagine what their children are going to have in the future. And that's how you change the generation. Because Bruce Lipton says 10 to 15% of all the genetic diseases are only 10 to 15%. Over 85% of your disease is what we call epigenetics, the environment that you surround yourself with, the behaviors that you adapt. It's not the genetic. Just because your mom and dad and your grandparents had a condition doesn't mean you're going to get it. You have to work twice as hard to change that mindset and behavior, so that way you break that chain, and then your children will have much less of a chance of ever developing that condition.
That's great. I think we both are children of that, right? Because both our fathers were alcoholics, and we decided to take a different route. Luckily, my dad got help and got us on this track using the Silva method. Now, when we think about you and what's going on in the future, people can go to drfabmancini.com. We'll have that in the show notes and things like that. Where else can they learn about you? And maybe, do you have a TV schedule when you're on television? Is there a place they can see that? Or is that just, I know you air them. I see them all the time when you're a guest on those shows, but where can they learn more about you?
Well, the website is always the best place, drfabmancini.com. And I'll also give you a link where people can actually get a lot of resources. I know many times people just want to experience lectures or books and things that I have written. So I created a free resource. I call it the Vault. So people can actually have the opportunity to learn without having to pay anything, and they can improve themselves. I find that the biggest thing is to start, just start. It's like, we know that habits don't happen overnight, right? Most scientists will tell you that it takes at least 21 days to build a new habit. So what I recommend people to do is try to at least focus on one thing you're going to do consistently every day for 21 days. It doesn't matter what it is for me. Maybe you're going to drink 8 glasses of water a day for these next 21 days. That's a big goal to have. Or maybe you're going to really try to go to bed early and sleep maybe 7 to 8 hours instead of your typical 5. That's a good habit to have. Or maybe you're going to be able to exercise at least 3 times a week for 30 minutes minimum, So whatever you do, whether it's exercise at home or whether you want to go to the gym or whether you want to go outside and do some activity, those are the things that I think are the critical things. So my website, you can always find everything I'm doing there, from podcasts to television programming, everything I do. Usually there's a schedule there that you can follow me. And especially if I'm doing lectures and events, that's something also that we encourage you to participate if you would like to be in an environment that allows you to put all of this into practice.
Right. Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Fab, for being a guest on the show. Is there anything that I forgot to ask you that you feel sharing with BrainTap Nation would be beneficial?
Well, the one thing that I would tell you is that if you're using it right now, use it more. And I'm reminding that to myself. There was a lot of time that I did it only once a day, and it wasn't enough. When I jumped to twice a day, my life drastically changed. And I do 3 times a day, but not consistently every day. But that's what I'm working on. That's my goal, to try to use it. So that's one thing. The second one is that if you never tried it, if you never used it before, go ahead and order it. And what I would tell you is see the change that it can have in your life. And then if you have a family, whether it's you have children or parents, like my mom, she loves her BrainTap because she knows that that's going to make her feel good. It's going to get her up in the morning feeling optimistic, looking forward to the next day, being able to be awake and not so sleepy when she wakes up. So if you have elderly parents or even grandparents, give that to them for a gift, and do for your children. My children, I'm telling you, if they were here right now, they would tell you, Dad, this is the best gift you've given us. And because it's a gift that keeps on giving. They will have BrainTap for the rest of their life, no matter what they're going through in their personal relationships, stress at jobs. They're not allowing those circumstances to impact them the way most people get impacted. That's why they're so successful and positive, is because they have a mindset that realizes circumstances don't define me. And that's where BrainTap really comes into play, because it empowers you to realize you're still in control. So that's really what I will leave you with is, if you have it, use it more. If you don't have it, order it right now, because your life will change for the better.
Well, thank you, Dr. Fab. And we're going to look forward to getting more of your sessions so we can get out there to the Spanish-speaking world, because as I just learned from Dr. Lisa, there's more people speaking Spanish than English now. So we need to get it out there and start teaching people. So again, thank you for listening to the Brain Fitness Podcast. Please like and share this podcast. Get this out to anyone you know that is maybe wondering about what is the doctor mindset? What is the doctor's mindset about brain fitness? What is really out there, and not looking through just a lens of critical care or, injury care. We're talking about prevention now. Go grab one of Dr. Fab Mancini's books. They're inspiring, they're fun to read, they're easy reads, they're very enjoyable. So he didn't write them for PhDs, he wrote them for the everyday person. So they're really good. They'll teach you some really good tips. He's been in this business for a long time, and I know you're very busy, so I appreciate you taking the time out to share with BrainTap Nation, and they're going to get this out to share with the world. And we're going to keep bettering a billion brains, because it's going to take every one of us to continue to share and change, because stress is an option. We need to build capacity. We're not going to do anything. We can't change the world. It's very stressful. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of worry, but we can rise above that with the right mindset and build resilience and build capacity to handle those situations. Remember, we don't pray to God to get rid of our stress. We pray for the capacity to handle that stress and make better life decisions. So again, Dr. Fab, thanks for being on the show. We look forward to the next conversation we're going to have, and we're going to continue to change the world one brain at a time and get to that 1 billion mark. So thanks again. Now, if you're listening, remember, you're going to like and share this. Get it out to your family and friends. Let them know that there is a choice in health, and you can choose to be healthy. You don't have to wait to have an illness or a sickness. You can prepare yourself for health, because most people spend all their life building their wealth, and then they spend all their wealth trying to keep their health. You can keep your health along with gaining that wealth if you want, because like you said, the billionaires know that health is more valuable than the money, because you can't buy the health. You can do that today though. So like and share this. And thank you for being part of BrainTap's community and being a part of changing the world one brain at a time. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on our mission to better a billion brains. Follow at Dr. Patrick Porter on social media for updates, and remember to practice brain fitness every day.